So we'll be done at 11:45.
Sweet.
So we got Jeff Fieldstad, host of the Solid podcast.
Yep.
Financial professional out in old Utah on the Never Broke Again podcast today. So happy to have on some secrets that he has that's helped get from. I was looking and it was like, I saw that your wife also is an entrepreneur. So it seems like y'all were on this journey together a little bit with you and your family in terms of building a power couple of some sort.
Yeah. My wife definitely has been a part of everything. I mean, we met when I was 19, she was 17. So we started business early. And yeah, man, we've been rocking together ever since.
That's awesome.
So you came referred by our past guest, Jefferson Rogers. He's a window king, the window king.
Yeah, Jefferson is a great guy. He's been one of my best friends for a long time, a lot of years.
Okay. Yeah, he was like, I was like, who would you recommend? He said Jeff. How do you pronounce it? Fieldstad?
Yeah, Fieldstad. Yeah.
And he said, I think he said you retired at 35. Are you retired or?
I did. Yeah, I retired at 35, and I've been working on some projects recently, but yeah, so I sold my business at 35 and just retired, and that was for about 2 years, and then I had some opportunities that I couldn't say no to. So I've been working on a few things recently, but yeah, I'm pretty much, I guess you could call it semi-retired. I just do what I want, man, which is awesome,
Yeah. I do what I want and I'm not retired. But awesome. So what did you do? What did you do up until, I guess, 17, 19? I did check your Instagram. You do a lot with your wife. That's cool.
Yeah.
But so what did you do from 17 to 35 or 19?
Yeah. So, I started financial services. So I did insurance, investments, stuff like that. And over 15 years, I recruited and trained, 30-something thousand people. We had a bunch of different brokerages throughout the United States and multiple different states, and grew fast. And my main business was in Idaho and Nevada. And then we were in a bunch of other states as well, but that's mainly where I was located throughout those years. And then in 2020, we sold the business.
So what it was life insurance and financial advisory. Is that?
Yeah. We did life insurance. Yeah. Investments, whether it was retirement plans or annuities, auto and homeowners insurance. Yeah. I mean, all things financial services, mortgages. We did all kind of different financial services products.
So did you have assets under management?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. And maybe I missed it. How long did you do this for?
15 years.
Okay. So from 20 to 35.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. I started when I was 20.
Why'd you let it go? Why'd you retire from that business?
Good question. I had a big organization and a lot of people, and I always had this dream of sailing around the world, and I had bought a boat. I bought a big boat. It was there in Fort Myers. Thank God I sold it last year at this point. Seriously. But yeah, so I bought a big boat and was plan on taking it around the world and sailing around the world. And then we got to Fort Myers. We were on the boat. My wife started getting sick, and we're young, so we never had any health challenges or anything. And so it changed our plans. And so
she got sick, like, what do you mean? Like seasick or like?
No, man, she just started having health challenges. It was weird. And so we got there, she started having health challenges, and we just went, dang, we better go back home. We can't be out in the middle of the ocean or, in a different country and not know what's going on. So he came back home, and took us about a year, and her health is good now, but obviously it changed our plans. Everything changed at that point. So I sold the business because I just, when we got the boat and we were there getting ready to go out, I'm like, man, I just didn't feel like it was the best thing for my people. That their leader was going to be gone, for a long period of time. And yeah, it might've cost me some money, but I felt like the right thing to do for my people that have bought into the dream that I sold them, that they had active leadership. And so we sold the business. I thought it was best for them. And obviously it gave us a ton of freedom, and we were financially independent anyway. So, that's why we did it, man.
So you said you had 30,000 agents?
Yeah. Over the years, I recruited 30,000
Okay.
people. So obviously I think you're in mortgages, people get their license and let it lapse, and some people get their license, people let it lapse. So over the years, recruited 30,000 people and licensed a ton. We were in Idaho between 2007 and 2011, and we had the largest financial services company in Idaho at that point. And then we moved down to Las Vegas in July 4th of 2011. And after a few years, we built the largest organization in Nevada as well, which was pretty cool. Just a young kid. People were going, who the heck is this guy that shows up to Vegas? And all of a sudden,
did you have partners, or was this your wife? How did you get this going?
Yeah. So my wife and I started, we got recruited into financial services in 2006. So when we got recruited into financial services in 2006, it was a guy who trained us, taught us what to do. And we were just young kids. So he trained us for a year, we learned, and then we moved from Southern Utah up to Boise. And we just started from scratch, man. We had $3,000 saved at the time. We had pulled out of my wife's Roth IRA, cashed out her Roth and drove 9 hours away to start a business. We signed a lease on an office, didn't have a place to live. We had $400 left over. And that's how we started, man. Just my wife and I, just young kids, signed a lease on an office. We had a dream and no money, and just hoped that, we were good enough to make it happen. And thank God it did.
So you were selling insurance,
Yep,
financial advisory, mortgages. What else?
Yeah. I mean, we've done a bunch of different financial services products over the years. So I was actually also responsible for putting together a partnership with Vivint. So we did home automation and security. We marketed that. We didn't really sell it. It was just it was a good product that a lot of our clients could use. A lot of our reps could make some good money while they were in the licensing process. As you know, in mortgages, it takes a minute. And so we like to get people off making money quick. And so that was one of the products we would sell as well. We would do legal protection for trusts and wills, stuff like that. But yeah, those are most of the products we sold, man.
So you and your wife were doing this?
Yeah. My wife would run like a lot of the administrative stuff. So she would do, at the very beginning, she would do all the administrative stuff in the office, and whether it was licensing or applications or, whether it was a client's life insurance policy or their investments, they needed help doing that, or whether it was help with getting a rep licensed, whatever it may be. And then as the business grew, obviously we started hiring people to help us. But yeah, she always took the administrative side of the business, and I always kind of took the leadership of the production side of the business. And then quarterly, we would do big events. And so we would get our whole business together and we would do these big quarterly events. And so my wife would put those on as well. So
what did you grow? How many people, when you had the exit, how many people was it at over, I guess, the 15th year? Where were you at overall?
Hard to say exactly where it was at, but we had 15 different locations. So we had 15 different locations in 6 different states. It was the overall size of the business. And inside of each one of those locations was probably, between 50 and 100 guys or gals, licensed.
Were y'all bankrolling this whole thing, or did you have like resources that were?
Yeah, definitely. We had partners in the business. Yeah. So we definitely had partners in the business that helped. They had infrastructure set up and stuff like that we could just plug into for sure. So yeah, we couldn't have done it on our own. Especially in financial services, when it comes to mortgages and insurance and investments, there's so much regulation already. And then just trying to enter into that business is not an easy thing to do. So being young kids, I guess you could do it. It's just not easy. So as being young kids, we had partners that, like I say, a guy that trained us. We use a lot of the infrastructure that he had as we got started. And he actually sold his business too, right after we sold ours. So it's kind of cool. That's actually my co-host that we do the podcast with, is Brandon Neal. So he sold his business, I think, probably 2 or 3 months after we sold ours.
So you had 750 people. How many were like 1099? Most of them?
Yeah, almost all of them. So the way it would work is we would, when somebody would go out and open up their location, we would give them the highest contract, right? So they would have, max contract on that product. And sometimes those guys would hire, obviously they would have assistants and, staff and stuff like that, but it wasn't staff that I necessarily paid for. So yeah, the majority of our business was 1099 employees, 1099, salespeople. And then we did have some employees that help with staff and stuff at the end for sure.
That's how many actually produced out of the 750? How many were producers? All 750 or like 50?
Yeah. So I always ran business, and it's funny because you hear all these sales trainer in the world today, and they always tell you how they can teach everybody to sell so much. And the fact is, human nature is human nature. When it comes to sales, you're gonna have a certain percentage of people produce and a certain percentage of people not. It's just the way it goes, right? It's just human nature. And so in our business, the way it worked is, I would tell everybody, like if it came to life insurance, for example, so if you have a life insurance license, 15% of those people are going to average 2 sales a month. It's just the way it goes, right? So however many licenses you have, if you have 1,000 licenses, you're probably going to average 300 sales a month. Now with leadership and different times of the year, and that may fluctuate in that business, but on average, long-term, and the bigger you get, the more likely that those law of averages are going to work out for you, right? So when you're smaller, you might be able to have, 100 licensed guys and 50 or 60 of them might produce consistently. But as you get bigger and the business starts to grow, the bigger it gets, the more likely those law of averages will work out. So for us, that was like in life insurance, that was the number. Investments is a different number because more people that go get an investment license are going to produce. It's also easy. It's a simple thing where a guy says, hey, I want to set up $100 a month Roth IRA or something like that. So you have people that are brand new that have an investment license where that's a lot easier conversation for them to have than, hey, let's talk about life insurance or let's refinance your house or whatever it may be. Right.
Mm-hmm. So going back to the beginnings, how did you meet your wife?
Good question. Yeah. So I met my wife, I knew her mother hung out with my parents growing up. So I knew her mom, and her mom would always try to get me to take her on a date. I was dating this other girl and got out of high school, and she was hanging out with one of my friends. And I called my friend and she was there. I just said, hey, that girl's hot. Tell her, let me take her out on a date. She gave me her number and I called her, took her out on a date, and no joke, man, we've been together ever since. I don't think we've ever.
He hasn't left.
Yeah, it's been fun, man. It really has, because we started a business together early on, and every day, I mean, we've worked together every day. We've traveled the world. We've done everything together, which is really cool. It's unique. We're one of those couples, just the other day we were in a meeting and one of the guys says, you guys are always together. We go, yeah, we feel fortunate that everything we do, we get to do together. And we like to be known as that couple that, hey, if I'm there, so is she most likely. And if she's there, so am I most likely.
Are kids along for the ride, or what? Are there no kids, or?
Yeah, we have 3 kids. We do have 3 kids. They're 8, 6, and 3 right now. So we're in the thick of it, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so kids are there, and she's an incredible mom, and we have some incredible help, with family and people that help us as well with the kids. And so that always makes it nice. It gives us a little bit of freedom to be able to do what we want. But we also try to include our kids. One of the things that's important for me is, when I grew up, I was told my whole life, go to school, get good grades, get an education, get a good job, right? And for most people, it just does not work. I looked at my mom. My mom went to school. She got good grades. She got an education. She got a bachelor's degree. And she never made any money. She was broke. We grew up poor in a single wide trailer. My mom was a single mom, and a single mom trying to raise 6 kids. It's not easy. And so for whatever reason, I always looked at it and just went, man, I couldn't find anybody who had the life I wanted that ran that play. Go to school, get good grades, get an education, you get a good job. There were people I knew that made money. They just didn't have the life I wanted. And I wanted freedom. I wanted to be able to do what I want, when I want. I hate someone telling me what to do. I believe I'm that kind of guy. The speed limit is a suggestion, and so I wanted to have freedom. I tell everybody, just call me anything. but don't call me average. I don't want to be like everybody else. And so with our children, I want my kids to know that, like, hey, whatever you decide to do to make money, to create a life, you can do it, right? And you don't have to think inside of this box that the world has put you in, that this is how it works. So we try to include our kids into a lot of different things. We like them to hear business conversations. We like them to understand what's happening. And my 8-year-old is starting to get to a place where he's very aware and starts understanding, like, oh, Dad, if you do this, you can make money. Or if we do this, we can, it impacts our life this way. And so it's kind of cool to see our kids over the years. We've tried to expose them to those things. And then now they're really starting to catch on, which is a lot of fun as a parent,
Yeah, I got 3 also. They give me some good ideas. Like, I'm like, and I even started talking to them like adults. I don't know if you've done that yet. And I'm like, damn, this kid's maturing quickly. So you sold a sizable business, it sounds like. To who? Did somebody find you to buy it, or did you?
So when I decided to sell it, there was one guy I would sell it to. And if he didn't want to buy it, I wasn't going to sell it. I knew he was the guy. I knew my people would be excited.
How'd you know that was the guy?
I just knew, man. When you have,
was he already in the industry, or was he?
Yes. Yeah, he was a great friend of mine. He was like my brother, right? We kind of like peers. Yeah. So I just knew. And I prayed about it for a long time. I just felt like it was the right choice. And I told my wife, if it's not him, I'm not going to do it, And so I called him and said, hey, dude, here's what I'm thinking. And he just said, done, and it was that easy. 2 weeks later, it was sold. It was crazy how quick it happened. It worked out perfectly. Good timing.
Due diligence in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Crazy, huh? So it's just nuts, man. I mean, looking back on it, it's crazy to think how fast it happened and how smooth it went, and the transition with our people. I really am grateful that it went that smooth and happened that good, And so we're still like brothers now, and we still talk a lot, and it was a great thing. It turned out to be phenomenal.
How did you meet this person?
Through the business. Like I say, we've been peers for a long time. And so we've known each other our entire careers, and, we've helped each other. You have those guys that you build a business with that you go, we think we have similar philosophies and personalities and leadership styles. And so then you attract an organization that looks a certain way, acts a certain way, because you build a business, it's a living, breathing organism. It has a personality, but usually based on the leadership of what the leadership has attracted those people to, what causes them to get up in the morning and go for their goals and dreams. And what is that thing that's been itching at their soul that you've been helping scratch as a leader, And so I knew that if we sold to him, he would be able to continue to take that business and grow it, which was very important to me, because a lot of those people in that business were my best friends, my family, people I spent my whole life with. And so knowing that they had an incredible opportunity to continue to grow in the future with great leadership and great resources, it was very important to me.
What'd you sell it for?
So I can't say because we have a deal, but I'll tell you this, it was, millions and millions and millions of dollars, man. It was, I feel blessed. I never planned on working again. Like I said, I grew up in a trailer. When we sold the business, I just thought, I'm done. I'm going to be done forever, and I'm going to go sell around the world. And I thought it was going to take about 10 years to do that. And then when I got back, I would just, who knows, didn't work like that. But yeah, I feel blessed. I feel blessed to be at this moment and to be able to sell a business like that. I never thought I would do it. I never started it to sell it and build it, and I never thought I would sell it. And honestly, until about 5 or 6 months before, I never thought I would sell it.
Did they, on the exit, did they just pay cash, or was it like?
So yes, on the exit, we got an upfront cash deal, and then we have a payout over 15 years as well.
Oh, okay. So you have some residual.
Gives you 15 years to figure out what you want to do next.
I guess you could look at it like that. Honestly, we were financially independent. So outside of selling the business, we didn't really need the money to sell the business. I've always lived way below my means. Honestly, I was the guy early on in my career. The first time I ever really started netting some good money was like in 08, 09. I started netting, I was 23, 24 years old. I was netting 40, 50, 60, 70 grand a month. and I was saving I was living on like $3 or $4 grand a month. So, you know,
So what were you doing with the remainder?
I was just investing it. I would put it in the S&P, you know, like in 2009 when the market crashed in March of 09, everybody was freaking out, and I took everything I had and plowed it into the S&P, and everybody told me I was crazy. I was going to lose everything. And
so
I just
what's that? What's the S&P ticker? Is that SPY? Is that what it is?
Yeah, there's a few of them. You could go get an index fund. Yeah. So whether it was, I think there's
So like an index fund, that's what it was?
Exactly.
So
Yep.
what do you think about the market now? Because it's like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's labeling it or where we're at. It's kind of like multiple labels. Is it similar? Do you think it's similar to like an 08 or an 09, or is it different?
No, I mean, anytime someone says this time it's different, always makes me a little bit nervous because it's not different, right? Anytime somebody says that just means you're not looking far enough back to find the pattern that you're trying to repeat, because human beings and markets run in cycles. It's not different, right? The situation that caused the cycle might be different, so it might be a little bit harder to see. But just like after winter comes spring, after spring comes summer, and after summer comes fall, just like after an economic downturn, usually comes growth, right? So the saying that I heard early on in my career that changed me forever and allowed me to stop making emotional decisions about money and start making logical decisions about money was a Warren Buffett quote that said, "Be greedy when people are fearful and be fearful when people are greedy." And right now, people are fearful. You've seen the market stop. People are wondering, is there a recession? Yes, we're in a recession. I mean, it's obvious we're in a recession. You look at what's happening in the world. Like we live in Southern Utah, which is largely driven by tourism. And tourism is almost all but stopped, right? You look at the hotel reservation rates, the Airbnb rates. You look at what's happening to people. I mean, it's all but stopped. And for me, when people are struggling, I always remember that means opportunity, right? So yes, it's hard.
So what is Jeff doing right now?
Same thing. I've always done the same thing.
You're buying more?
Yes, I just accelerate when times are down. So I try to never make a decision where I go, oh my gosh, what's going to happen in the future? Rather, I try to step back and go, okay, what is the issue here, and where are some opportunities, right? And what do I want with my life? So my goals have a big impact on that too, right? Because in the way I make decisions financially is I always say this one sentence: if it doesn't improve my quality of life, I won't do it. Mm-hmm. So there are some investments you could make, right, that you could hit it out the park, but for 5 or 10 years, it might not improve my quality of life. And that's not exciting to me. However, some people should do that because that's the thing that's going to change their life, you know? So that's how I operate today. I operate that if it doesn't improve my quality of life, I'm not going to do it. I want something that gives me massive wealth that I'm willing to, I'm willing to wait for. I'm willing to be patient for the opportunity to show up, but I'm also willing to execute when the opportunity is there. And then I'm willing to be patient until that opportunity becomes a realization, right? Because sometimes you make a decision and it takes time. And so many people are impatient, like in 08, 09, who would have thought that until 2014, 2015, 2016, the market would double, right? Nobody thought that. And I didn't know that either. It wasn't like I go, oh, here's what's going to happen in the future. I just went, if what's happened in the past has happened over and over, it's probably going to happen in the future again. And when a market drops, it usually comes back. And so
what was the worst mistake you made with investing? Was it buying that boat?
No, honestly, I think the worst mistake I ever made with investing was I invested into a company that wasn't profitable in a system yet. I invested into a company that was really still at an idea stage. And I did that early on in my business. I was like 22, 23 years old.
Is this a public stock or is this a small private company?
It was a small private company. And they were just looking for some money. And I thought it would work. They didn't have a system. They didn't, and so I put some money into it. And right after I did it, man, I'm like, why did I do that? It went against everything that I believed in. That was the one time. And that's all I needed in my career to say, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to go against, because it seemed right. We do these things at the moment. We go, man, it's a good opportunity. I could make some money. it seemed right, but deep down it went against some philosophies that I had, but I did it anyway. And I'm glad I did it, because even though it was an investing mistake, you could call it, I think that a lot of the wins I've had afterwards were because of that loss at that moment.
You gotta have rules, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Cause we're emotionally attached to our money. I don't care how many times we tell people, hey, make decisions logically, not emotionally. You're still emotionally attached to your money.
So are you unemotionally buying stock right now? Do you see it or do you see it going down further, or when do you see a bounce back, in 5 years, 6 years, or?
Good question. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I'm not smart enough to predict it, but yeah, I do see a bounce back. How long is it? I don't know. Do I think it's going to go down further? I don't know. Yeah. I do, but I don't know. Every month. So right now, every month on the first of the month, I put more money into the S&P every single month. But then I'll do stuff like, I'll save a little bit on
you're on indices. You're in indexes. You're not picking stocks.
Yeah. And I'll buy some stocks. I've made some money in some stocks and stuff like that. I just know, like, to me, anybody who says, hey, I've made a lot of money in stocks and I beat the market, and I'm just like, there's only a couple of guys in the world that are that good to do it long term. And maybe I got lucky. Maybe I made a good decision, but to do it long term for massive financial wealth, I don't know. I guess you say I'm humble enough to know that I'm not good enough. That there's only a couple of guys in this entire world that have.
How do you sell that? Because you had assets under management. How much did you manage?
Depending on the time of year in the market, but over 100 million.
So how do you tell those people, I'm just going to put you in an index? How do you sell that?
Well, not everybody's
doing it themselves, right?
Because everybody has different goals. Yeah. So not everybody has the same goals as I do.
Okay.
So not everybody was in an index fund, because if it is when it comes to investing, it's all based on your goals. Like, for example, real estate. I've made a lot of money in real estate. I like in
residential or commercial,
mostly residential. But I'm that guy that I'll go, like, to me, a house is just a box, right? It's just a place to sleep. And if I can buy a box at a good price, and I know that, and I can sleep in that box until I can sell it for more, I'll do that. So I did in Las Vegas. I built a house for $760,000, and I turned around 2 years later, I sold it for $1.2 million. And then I took that money and then I rented for a minute because I thought the market was going to adjust. I bought another house for $775,000. It just praised for almost $2 million. So when it comes to real estate, I'll just wait. I'll sit and wait until I can find a good deal. And, I think a lot of the money is made in the buy. So if I can get a good buy.
What do you like better, real estate or stocks? If you had $100,000, where would you put it?
If it depends on the goal. Again, real estate is an active investment. So you're going to have to be actively paying attention. You're going to have to make some wise decisions. You're going to have some good timing. You're going to have some good relationships. So with real estate, it comes with that. And if you have those things, I would go with real estate. If you don't, and you're like, I don't know a whole lot, I've saved $100,000. I've worked my butt off. I don't have a lot of relationships. And your goal is long-term wealth, where you say, I'm willing to be patient for a long period of time. Then you put it in the index. You're not going to hit a home run, put money in an index. It's just not going to happen. Right. You're going to wait a long time. However, over a very long period of time, you put $100,000 into an index at 30 years old. By the time you're 60, you're going to be glad you did. Right now, could you have made more money taking that $100,000 and investing it into real estate and doing some other things? Absolutely, you could do that. It's just a different style of investing.
Well, what if there's a dip when you're 59? Right?
What if?
Yeah.
What if there's not? It's like everybody used to always say to me on that question. So that's a fear-based question. So when
typically people are always looking from the top to where they are, not where they started.
Yeah, why you tell everybody
by the time 60 would be doubled at least probably 3 or 4 times. So it'd be worth probably 800, 900,000. So if 800,000 goes down 25%, you still got 600 G's.
Exactly. And so I used to tell everybody, well, like, what if it doesn't though? Like, yeah, what if it does, but what if it doesn't? Like, what if Steve Jobs would have said, what if nobody will buy an overpriced phone? Like, really, but what if they will? We know these things are overpriced. We know. Why do we buy them? We buy them because of the conveniences they offer us. We buy them because we know it's a good product. We use it. So we still overpay. We can get a cheaper phone, right? So there's a lot of reasons people will make decisions, say, what if it does work though? Right? Like, why don't you just go for it? Why should we operate our entire lives thinking, what if it doesn't work? Because in my mind, people that operate that way and say, what if it doesn't work? Those are the people that always end up having life not work for them. Because I'm always like, what if it does? Like, what do we have to do to make it work? Like, what are some good choices up front that we can make to know that we can achieve our goals long term, right? There's no guarantees in life, but we should set ourselves up. And here's another thing that I found. If your goal is destination, we'll just call it a destination. En route to that destination, you're never going to take the same path you thought you were going to take to get there. It's not going to happen the same way. You can dream it out in your mind, have this perfect business plan, all this kind of stuff, and you have this destination you're trying to get to. But almost guaranteed the path and route to that destination is going to be dramatically different than you thought. It's always going to be different. Doesn't mean you need to change the destination. It just means you need to look for a different way to get there, right? And so I think with investing, it's that same thing. Rather than saying, hey, what if it doesn't work? Saying, like, what if what happened in the past happens again in the future? Then what decision should I make?
Gotta learn.
What if it does?
Gotta capitalize on other people's emotions.
Exactly. And a lot of times people make decisions when it comes to investing on what's on the news or what their broke friend told them or what someone else did. And crypto is a big thing right now where someone will hear these stories and their friend hit out the park with crypto. And you're just like, dude, I understand if you go make that same decision right now, you're not going to get the same result. It's going to be a different result. And so you can't expect to have the same result from different timing, different information, different stuff. So you've got to think logically rather than going, oh my gosh, my friend hit it out the park in this cryptocurrency, so I'm going to go do the same thing. And then they lose their butt, right? And these things happen a lot when it comes to money because people emotionally get excited. People have this lottery mentality, right? What if I gamble a little bit? I used to always say there's three kinds of people. There's a thief, there's a gambler, there's a champion, right? A thief says, man, I want something for nothing, right? They don't want to pay any price. They just want something for nothing. They'll go play the lottery or whatever their whole lives, and hopefully they make it. There's a gambler. Someone says, I'll pay a little bit of price. Right. I'll put a little bit of money in, or maybe I'll read one book a year instead of doing what I'm supposed to. I'll listen to one podcast once in a while instead of going all in and saying, man, I'm going to get everything I need to get. Right. They're a thief. They'll put in a little bit, but they're really not going all in. And then there's a champion. Someone says, you know what? I want to succeed. I'll go all in. I'll do whatever I need to do to win. I'll get all the information I need. I'll put myself in the right position. I'll build the right relationships. And those are the people that succeed when it comes to investing. All three of those people could be in the same investment, but most likely they're going to make different decisions because of the knowledge, the relationships, the expertise, the things that they program their minds with, right? And so it's just what happens. So I think a lot of investing is not so much saying, hey, where would you put your money, but more so like, what are your goals? Because when you figure out your goals and you know where you want to go, we know that motivated people, when they know exactly where they want to go, they figure out a way to get there and you'll find it. Your subconscious mind does a very good job with that. We have inside of our brain the reticular activating system, right? RAS, and it filters out everything we don't need. So you need to make sure your mind is programmed to tell you, hey, look for the things I need to achieve my goals. Well, a lot of times people don't even know what the heck they want to achieve. So the world doesn't show them anything that they need, right? Versus if you have some goals, you know what you want to achieve, you're working towards it, then what you are looking for is going to show up. But if you're not looking for anything, nothing shows up.
Well, Jeff, thanks for coming on the Never Broke Again podcast.
Thanks, man.
You got it. Andrew's going to ask you for that question, though. He's going to hit you up afterwards.
I had a question, but it slipped, so I can't remember. What question? What are you talking about, Josh?
He didn't choose real serious stocks. He said, what's the circumstance?
Oh. Yeah. What do you think about margin on stocks, Jeff? Do you put stock on margin?
I never have, but I have. And again, it goes back to that thing like quality of life, right? I have some very good friends who have crushed it and they've done really well using margin. again, the goals are different. That's why I never try to like tell somebody, hey, here's what you should do.
You do your thing. You're doing your thing. I think that's kind of what I've learned over the, like, just do what works for you.
Yeah.
You know?
And here's another thing about business, you know, like you're in mortgages, right? If you, just do like that. If you just do what works for you and you master your craft and you achieve it, there's going to be people that look at your life and go, that's what I want. I'm trying to accomplish that. And then they're attracted to that. And then your advice really helps them. It will change their life. But so often people think that there's only one way. There's not. There's so many different ways to get wealthy financially. And there are so many different options. And some people might choose a way to get wealthy and it wasn't the way that was best for them. And so they're miserable en route, you know, where if they would have made a different choice, it wasn't chasing financial freedom that caused them to be miserable. It was probably the route in which they chose by just listening to the wrong person. And the wrong person didn't mean that it was bad advice. It just meant it wasn't right for them. It wasn't the perfect advice. So that's why I just believe if you can have a message that you really believe in, you know what you're talking about, you've been there, you've done it, you're passionate about it, you're educated on the topic, and you just teach on what you know, the right kind of people are going to be attracted to that message and look for you, and you'll be able to offer advice that will help that person really accomplish what they want in life. And then when you do that, they become raving fans, right? For your topic, for your business, for what you do. I mean, look at Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn. You know, I mean, how often do you hear Tony Robbins mention Jim Rohn's name? Always, because Jim Rohn changed his life early on, because that's what he was looking for at that time of his life. Tony Robbins would have been successful no matter what he did in his life. We know it, right? However, he chose this path and made an impact on so many people's lives because it was what he was looking for at that moment. And thank God he found a guy like Jim Rohn at the time who really was true, and he was real, right? Jim Rohn had a message that was right for him at that moment. Tony Robbins bought in hook, line, and sinker, and really never changed from that moment. And I think you watch that one example of success. It happens to a lot of people. You can always go back and find a mentor. Someone said, hey, they found a mentor. That person helped them get to where they wanted to go. And it was the perfect mentor for them, right? You look at Michael Jordan.
Did you have a mentor?
I did. Yeah, okay. I had a couple. Yeah, a couple mentors. And here's another thing about, I think, mentor, we can end on this, is that when it comes to mentors, the people you allow to influence your life are ultimately going to determine the outcome, right? So for me, I had mentors in a few areas of my life. So if I was going to make a financial decision, I had a mentor where I said, okay, I like this guy's life based on how he set his life up financially. So every time I made a decision financially, I would ask him, hey, here's where I'm at financially. Here's how much I've got. Here's where it's at. Here's what the decision I'm about to make. What would you do? And then there are other people like in my spiritual life or my personal life. So, you know, maybe they've got an incredible marriage. So I wouldn't just ask one person, say, hey, you're my mentor, and I'm going to listen to everything you say. More so, I went to find somebody who had that area of life that I really respected and trusted. And then I just went to go get advice from them in that area. Hey, will you pour into me? Will you mentor me? I'll do it if you'll just pour into me. And I would find 3 or 4 people. And I did. I had 3 or 4 mentors in my life that still today I call constantly, those same guys. If I have a decision to make, I call them before I make the decision, because they're not emotionally attached to my life. I am. So they can make some logical decisions and say, hey, dude, if you do that, here's what's going to happen. Here's the result. And if you're happy with the result, you should do it. If you're not, don't do it, you know? And that's the good thing about mentors, is a lot of times, you know, I started business at 20 years old. So I'm so different today. Like, I'm embarrassed by some of the things I said, some of the things I did in my 20s. I'm embarrassed, right? And I'm sure that when I turn 50 or 60, I'm going to look back and say the same thing about my 30s. However, I'm proud of the man I've become up to this point, but I know I'm only that individual because of the mentors that I've allowed to influence my life. So
it sounds like you're a reader. What are you reading?
Yeah, right now I actually just got this book called Comfort Crisis. So I just started reading this.
What is that about?
Embrace discomfort to reclaim your wild, happy, and healthy self. So we'll see. I don't know. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it. So that's what I just got.
Is there anything? What's that, Josh?
I always thought you gotta be uncomfortable.
What about what do you recommend that isn't mainstream?
Mainstream book? Is that what you're saying?
that is not, what book do you like that's not mainstream?
I don't
Or
know.
a little under mainstream?
Yeah, I would say 177 mental toughness secrets of the world class. I would say
Who wrote
that's
that?
Steve Seibold wrote that.
Okay.
Phenomenal book.
And it doesn't seem like did you have a sales line? Did you have like a favorite sales line in these companies, or did you train on? Did you have something like that worked for you, or
No,
something from the heart? Because you seem like from the heart kind of guy.
yeah, just relationships. I believe that relationships are the most important thing you can do in business and in life. And so when it came to sales, I always just looked at it as my job to figure out how I can help this individual. Like, do I have something that can help serve this person and help them hit their goals? If I do, then we can have that conversation, because people just want to know, can you help them? So often salespeople are just trying to figure out how they can sell what they have to offer, where I just truly believed if what I have to offer can help solve a problem, then I need to have a conversation with them about how what I have to offer can solve their problems. And if that happens, they close themselves. I don't have to be I don't have to say anything special other than here's what I have to offer, and I know it will solve your problems because you told me, right? So that takes a lot of skill and a lot of time and a lot of questions. I would say that when it comes to sales, outside of relationships, the most important thing you can master is the art of asking questions. If you ask questions and you
That's the name of a good book. That's the name of your book.
There you go, man.
Ask great questions.
The art of asking questions. That's a good book.
Well, thanks, Jeff. Enjoy the rest of your day. Look forward to chatting with you soon. All right.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great